Live on ESPN, and we'll be finding out the time for the Mississippi State game later on this afternoon. And at this point, we'll turn over to Coach.
Thank you, Tony. Really excited about getting back to work here this week. I felt like we improved as a football team a week ago. We needed to. We needed the time to heal up a bit, certainly get some things corrected, improve as a team. And get prepared for a great game here this week with hosting Tennessee. Looking forward to being back home and having another sellout crowd and strongly encourage our fans to come and be loud. We're certainly going to need it when you're facing a team as explosive as Tennessee and with the tempo that they use. And they're a very efficient football team. We know it's going to be a great challenge. And I think our team is ready to get back out, get to work here this week, put in a solid week of preparation, and go back to work and try to get in the W column. And we know this will be an exciting game for us.
Mark, what makes Tennessee so explosive?
I think you've seen a lot of it, last couple of years, just their tempo. Creates problems, but I think they are very balanced. When you're looking for balance, you've heard me talk about it a lot, and as a defensive coach defending somebody that is they're about exactly 50-50 right now, 217 to 220. It's about as balanced as you can get, and they have a very efficient offense that's hard to defend. I think the way they spread you out, the tempo that they use, the schemes that they use, a very talented quarterback in Joe Milton with a ton of experience. He's been around a long time, senior, and I think they have dynamic running backs, along with always having explosive receivers. So, very, very good team.
Would you learn, this will be the third time you face this offense, have you learned ways to try to simulate those splits and kind of how they operate offensively?
Yeah, I think we definitely try different ways to help and to simulate that. As you heard me say, and probably most, it's almost impossible to simulate them, in practice. That's for sure. You could run two units at them, as far as two scout teams. You could practice against our offense that can be efficient at just playing good football. It's not the same offense, but as far as us getting our cleats in the ground, getting calls, communicating, getting lined up, getting set, I think that that was a piece of it a year ago where we're playing certain downs very well, certain plays very well, and the tempo stresses some kids mentally, and just you can't have that. You can't have any mental breakdowns, that's for sure. It's hard enough, and they put enough stress on you and make enough one-on-one catches that you can't have your own mental breakdowns.
Do you run the risk sometimes with an offense, when you're preparing for an offense like that you get so focused on the offense that you don't stick to what you need to do, just your defensive fundamentals? Well,
yeah, I think fundamentals is a big piece of it, and I think your mind is such a big part. To get locked in. And you hear me, at times when you hear me talk about defense and cleats in the ground and reading keys and doing all those things, well, happens so fast you can get erratic, and so I think that's a big part of it, is having the guys really settle in and doing their job. And also, this is no team to sit there and watch the game. And you know what I mean by that, by a defensive player just sitting there watching things that are going on in front of them. They better do their job, and they better do it at a very, very high level.
Mark, you at least feel closer to 100% health-wise than you did a week ago? I know we're still several days before the game. Did you get what you wanted?
Yeah, I think we're better. We're certainly better than we were the last time we took the field. We're improving, so hopefully this week we'll stay healthy.
Mark, after you looked at the Missouri film, how did Kenneth Dorsey play in this first game?
Yeah, Kenneth did some good things. It was really good to have him back, as we talked about last week, just with Jagger being down and getting Kenneth back at that time was important, and he did some really good things. He played well for being out for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. So, hopefully we'll have both of those guys back this week along with Dylan and being close to full strength.
Mark, according to what we see in paper, which is just on paper, don't do too well behind the chains. Go with you when you get behind the chains. I mean, anything you formulate to try to keep you behind the chains.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think when we're behind the chains, we are very inefficient, and we need to execute better, and we need to be able to keep people off balance, and so. We want to grow as a program. You've heard me talk about it. We've discussed this. I mean, we could sit there and second guess ourselves and look at that last time we took the field and say, hey, we could sit there and run the ball maybe 20 more times and have a better chance to win the game. But are we really growing as an organization? Are we really winning? And being, becoming the team that we want to become. And we're never going to stop. Working at that, and I think last week was just another week where we just worked really hard on ourselves and looked to improve and be more efficient in all phases.
Mark, do you believe in practice the passing game is growing and it's making progress?
I do.
It's not translating?
I do. I think it's shown. I think you've seen it at times. I mean, I think you've seen the growth, and you've seen us fall short, of our expectations at times. And I think we're working hard. I think guys are working hard, and it'll show up on the field. It has. I'd like to see it more consistent.
Mark, how do you find that balance, though, between run game and pass game when stuff isn't translating perhaps as much as it should be with one facet of the offense versus another?
I mean, I could hit repeat the last three things I said, really. Honestly, I don't mean to be boring, but it's like, we have to just keep on working at it. We're not going to give up on that. We have to coach it, out of them and just become more efficient, and, it's always, players either need to be, challenged, corrected, or encouraged, and that's not going to change. We're going to challenge people, every day. We're going to get them corrected, coach them, and encourage them to improve. I mean, that's what we have to do, and that's a big focus that you look at in the off week.
Mark, when you talk about improvement, if you look at that first quarter against Mizzou, which is clearly a good team, how much can you point to that and say, see, this is what we can be, this is what we can do?
Well, that's how we just have to be efficient that way, and we have to stay on track. And again, we want to take that next step. We sit there, okay, we did that, we're efficient. Now we set something up, it's there, we don't execute it. You know what I mean? Like, we have to hit that. I mean, really good teams do that, and we'll continue to work at it.
Obviously, last year, Baryon and Dane showed, standout freshman year, showed a lot of promise. But obviously, when you go into sophomore, defensive coordinators had a chance to look at them all summer, be better prepared for them. How do you feel like that they have taken that challenge of developing their whole game their sophomore year?
They're just like you've heard me say many, many times, they're wonderful young men, really good players, not finished products, and they are working hard. I think after one of the tough games, the Georgia game, maybe somebody asked me, is there any good? And I'm like, well, a guy like Dane, I watched him because I saw him fall in what we call a pit moment. You know what I mean? Some tough times. And he worked really hard. And he's working hard to get out of it and to improve. Baryon, I could say the same thing. There's frustration. There's some injury. You're not practicing full speed because you're hurt. And he's trying like hell to help. I didn't mean to say that. He's trying like heck to help the team, and he's trying like heck to help the team, and he just gets frustrated, because he's not quite 100%. I mean, that's really difficult, and I think with sophomores that have some success as a freshman, sometimes that works against you with the pressure that's on you, the expectations that's there, and you just got to just stay focused to improve, and I think they understand that, and they want to help the team, they want to have success, But it's just got to come with a natural progression as well. And we certainly need them, and I've been encouraged by their attitude and the way they've worked at it.
Mark, obviously that position is greatly impacted by sort of a mass exodus of depth pieces. Is there, in retrospect, is there anything that can be done? Is that just the nature of the world now? You have two young starters, and everybody else will, okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate, that's just the way it is, and it's too easy. And I pointed out, I'd like to, instead of being critical of anybody that's been in that situation, I'd like to point out the other side of it, and the guys that didn't, and the guys like Jeremy Flax, the guys like, you recruit guys to come in and compete with them, and all you got to do is elevate. Competition makes everybody better. And, and if you're afraid of competition, then this is the wrong league to play in.
Mark, I know the whole player-only meeting thing is blown out of proportion, but how important was that player-to-player accountability you were talking about last Monday?
Yeah.
And how did you see it kind of progress throughout the Bible?
Yeah, again, and it's not a big thing. It's not like it's something they do often, and it's something doesn't take very long. They just kind of refocus and kind of commit to each other. And I think what I saw last week was a team that looked to improve. And that's always what we're looking for, for us, and what are we going to look like, and how are we going to improve on any weakness that we may have.
Biggest difference between Tennessee's offense from last year to this year, is it just Hooker against Milton? Is that the biggest?
I think it's very similar in a lot of ways. I think, this past week, you saw Joe really, throwing some good deep passes and some very accurate. They had maybe one drop in a critical moment, and they have some nice play. They're the same in that they could really be explosive at any moment.
Mark, I've had people ask about the transition away from the rugby style punting when you have an Australian guy you recruited to do that. Obviously, Wilson was pretty good at the first 4 games in the nutrition project. What is the thought process in how you all are doing that now versus what you did?
I think a part of it is just our scheme and what we do and what we want to look like, and he's more than capable of hitting it. You look at what we did early in the season, and we complemented the net punting. I mean, we were, if we get anything over mid 40s, I mean you're really good. Now we play some guys in this league that are absolutely elite. I think high end of 40 is crazy, and we see that sometimes. But if we could get back to being in that something over 40, net, 42, 43, 44, we could do that. We're covering well. We got to get back to hitting the ball like we're capable of.
Tennessee's defensive lines caused a lot of havoc this year. What have you seen from that group?
Pardon me, on their D-line?
defensive line,
Yeah,
yes.
their D-line. Yeah, they've just been very disruptive. They're very good as a unit. I want to say they're averaging 310 yards per game. They've been very disruptive up front, getting a bunch of sacks. They're playing strong across the board.
Mark, this is a chance where you kind of have to chew on that loss a little bit longer than normal. Is there anything you have to do to kind of help them move on past that and not think about the last time they're on?
No, I think we did that last week. I think, as I mentioned, I felt a greater challenge, because of the, when we lost, and just the way we bounced back, from the Georgia loss, getting them ready and prepared for Missouri. I felt like mentally we were prepared. We got to execute better. We got to play better. The game comes down to critical situations a lot of times, and there's things that we can improve on and play better, and we've focused on some of those things in the bye week and in our execution. When the game's on the line and the pressure's on, we have to execute better.
You said last week you did more good on good during the bye than you had done in previous years. Was that something you had planned going into the year, or was that just a moment right now that you thought you needed?
I just felt like it was a moment that we just needed to improve. We needed to be better. We needed higher competition. We needed faster practices, and felt like we got that accomplished.
Mark, midway point, pivotal game. Are you getting the kind of leadership, or how do you feel about the leadership you're getting from your older
Yeah,
players?
I feel feel very good. I feel good about the team. I think their mind's in a good place. We have to play better. You know, we got to make sure, you know, that we look at as a staff that we had time to sit there and watch it last week and really digest the things we're doing well. And, you know, how do we improve on that? What are teams going to do to counter the success that we've had? You know, where are we falling short? You know, and how do we improve, you know, on that? And, you know, certainly we have to be a smarter football team. You know, we have to execute in critical moments and get rid of, you know, silly penalties and unforced errors and things of that nature. So, you know, there was plenty for us to look at and improve on.
Mark, circling back to what you said about Tennessee being explosive, is that something you've addressed to the players? And is that something that should be feared, or do you just have a healthy respect for?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, our players watch football, you know, so I think they've seen them play for the past couple of years. They watch it on TV and see you know, they could see it in real time, the actual tempo. You know, sometimes on film things are slowed down, you know, but we obviously watch TV copies too as well to see the actual game speed. So, you know, I think our players understand, you know, with playing tempo teams is certainly one that's an elite tempo team like that. I'm not sure anybody goes faster.
Working with film, how did Rainer play with Trevin out?
Yeah, I was very impressed with Devin, really. That he started the game very fast. He played pretty consistent the entire game, to be honest with you. I was pleased. He's one of those guys that we're constantly pushing to understand the nature, you know, of how difficult it is to play at a consistent level here and, you know, keep his weight up and be able to withstand playing in the SEC, playing every down, practicing at that level. But he certainly is the type of guy when you put him in games, he'll show some ability and make some plays, which is good to see.
Is that the kind of thing that, I mean, obviously you wanted Trevin in that game, but when you get Trevin back, you feel better about the depth that you have at that position now?
Definitely. You know, with a guy that gets a whole game under his belt and gets more snaps, and you can see that he could play at a high level, it'll definitely help.
Mark, speaking of a guy who got a chance, how did Ty Bryant?
Yeah, Ty is a guy that I thought he played really well. He did some good things for a true freshman, and he's getting quality snaps as well. He's been a guy that we've talked about all the way back since last spring as far as getting a bunch of practice reps and, you know, getting prepared. I like the way he is very serious about the way he practices, the way he prepares, and therefore when he gets into the game, it, you know, comes a little more natural to him. He's prepared for it.
Mark, maybe recharge is the wrong word, but over the bye week, did you do anything do coaches have to kind of recharge their batteries or get away from it, or do you just grind through
well, I think you got to repair, reflect, and readjust a little bit. You know, you have to.
Sounds like a t-shirt.
Yeah. But we all have to recruit. You know, we have to recruit as well. And but there is, you know, a touch more time. You know, you don't have to work as not every night, all night, and things of that nature. And so, you know, certainly helps. And you know, most importantly, it gives us a good chance to look at ourselves. You maybe slow down and take a good look at ourselves, and then also prepare for future opponents.
Mark, how do you feel the pass rush overall has progressed this season, and how important is it against an offense like this that takes so many vertical shots?
Yeah, I think, well, this team, they also get the ball out very, very quick at times. So there's times when there's zero chance to get there because, I mean, literally the ball's out as fast as you can get it out. Kind of like a good shortstop there, you know. I mean, so there's times when it's coming out extremely fast. And then there's times when they do take their shots and it's dropped back. And so we have to be, the guys have to be dialed up and relentless in their pursuit. The thing is with Joe is he could pull it down. They could have designed quarterback runs. They could have designed QB draws, and he does a nice job of buying time as well to scramble for yards or to scramble to buy some time and get the ball down the field. So anytime you're playing a guy like that, it puts a lot of stress on the defensive line. I think we're going to need to play a lot of guys. I think they're going to need to play very fast. They also have to be in great shape. We worked really hard last week with tempo because there's times when you cannot come out of the game. When they're in their series, there is zero substitution until there's a stoppage.
How do you get the secondary ready for that, Mark, with the duality of Joe? He can run and scramble, so if they're far down the field, they have to adjust and everything, and if he takes deep shots, that's a problem on its own.
A couple things. I mean, the deep shots itself, he has an extremely strong arm that's well documented that he could get the ball down the field as good as anybody that we will see. And so just judging and playing the ball on deep shots is one thing. And then the first part of your question is plastering and playing, off schedule is important to reaffirm that and practice that and just make sure that we're plastering to our guys with scramble drills.
What does that mean, Mark? Plastering, I've never heard that before.
When plays get off schedule and the quarterback starts scrambling around, routes get broken off, so it's not a designed route anymore. So it's essentially, with no disrespect, we all do it offensively, street ball at that time. You know what I mean? It's off schedule, and so short guys go long, long guys go short, some guys cross the field, so everybody has their idea of what to do with it, so we have to plaster. So once we play the secondary call the way it is, and they start getting off schedule, we have to stick to the men we have. Turns into man at that point in time.
How hard is that for a young defensive back to learn?
Well, it is. It's challenging, and they have to, understand, take care of their primary responsibility always first, do their job, and then from there, it's a bit of playing ball, and we have to be relentless in our pursuit of the quarterback.
Mark, after the Georgia game, some of your DBs told us they did not communicate well down in Athens. Was it better against Missouri, and how much better does it have to be this week against this offense?
It was better. It wasn't, obviously the same environment playing down there, and as I've mentioned to you before, hopefully it'll be a very tough environment for our defense to communicate this week. We need it to be that way, and so it is different challenges, because some inexperienced players, when you're playing in that type of environment, get the bright eyes a little bit, because things are going crazy. When you're at home, it's the opposite. Hopefully, the defense, is on the field when the stadium is very loud, and therefore it makes it a bit more challenging to communicate. So we just got to be locked in, use hand signals, look at each other and communicate and make sure we're all on the same page. I don't think it's anything that was drastic. You're talking, there's an enormous amount of communication that goes on every play.
Mark, with the drops, what approach, do you have to walk a fine line and not overemphasizing that and making it middle? Or how do you guys try to get that fixed?
Yeah, I don't think you can, analyze it and talk about it. Just go play. Our guys know how to throw and catch, and some of them are showing up with a youngster and bring him along, but we just gotta go make plays. That's the bottom line. We're in a you know who we play against. You have to make plays.
Anyone else?